Let's get hyped. Welcome into the Husker247 HypeCast, North Dakota edition. I am Mike Schaefer, joined by Michael Bruntz, Brian Christopherson of Husker247, and our guest this week making her debut on the Husker HypeCast. We have WOWT reporter and anchor Grace Boyles. Grace, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so this is your debut on the HypeCast. Saturday will be your debut covering Nebraska football in Memorial Stadium. What kind of expectations do you have for what Saturday is going to be like?
I mean, I'm hoping the crowd is going to be incredible. That's what I keep hearing from players, coaches, fans, that there's nothing like Memorial Stadium. So that is what I'm hoping for. I got a little taste of it at a spring game, which I was also very impressed by, I will say, for a spring game. But I'm hoping to take that up like 20 notches at least on Saturday.
All right. Well, we look forward to catching up with you as to how that experience gets to go. But before that, you get your debut of the Husker HypeCast. I don't know that it's an award-winning podcast. I don't know that they make awards for this podcast, but we're going to pretend like it is. So welcome in, and you're going to start off right away. We're going to dive into the offense, and you're getting the first question, Grace. What were your initial thoughts on how Casey Thompson played in Ireland?
You know what? I liked how he played. He obviously had a couple really good scrambles there, just making stuff happen, especially when things weren't going their way. I thought, and I know that Frost has said this too, they have someone in at quarterback that can win those games. I don't think he's the problem. I think if Husker Nation was looking for the quarterback to be the problem from the past, how many years, that's not the problem. It's the other pieces kind of around it. So I'm looking forward to seeing him back at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, making that debut for everyone. I like how much they air it out. Their run game is all right. But I'm sure we'll see plenty more of that.
All right. Brian Christopherson, what are you looking for from the offensive line on Saturday? They had sort of a mixed bag. You had some good pass protection, but they don't think they were able to open up the holes that they wanted necessarily in the running game. You don't have a Big Ten Power 5 opponent this time. You get a chance to go to work against North Dakota. What are you looking for from the offensive line?
Yeah, well, consistency with the run where, when you hand the ball to an I-back, you're getting more like 4 or 5 yards as opposed to 0 or 1 yards and playing behind the sticks. And it felt like you were putting an awful lot of responsibility, like we've seen in past years, on one guy because you can't run the ball consistently, where it comes back to Casey having to do so much. And then you have a small margin for error if a ball goes off a guy's hands or you get a bad fumble call or something like that. You pay a big price for it. So you want to see an O-line going against an FCS team where you feel like they can enforce their will a little bit. When it's 3rd and 1, it's not your running back having to win it himself, win the 1 yard himself. That said, I'm not taking lightly North Dakota. I've seen these FCS teams like this with South Dakota State, for instance, come here before and have a lot of fight. And it's kind of one of those regional games where there's guys who think I could have played at that level. And so I'm not just saying this is a slam dunk. Nebraska is going to run it up and down the field on them. They got a lot to prove because I don't think people saw what they were hoping they would from sort of the spring comments and some of that stuff about what that run piece was going to look like.
Bruntz, I know you were over there in Ireland, and one of the comments you made to me, when we first touched base after you got back, is you thought Nebraska's passing game could work out pretty well. Do you think Nebraska can pass well enough that it could set up the run? Because the conventional way is the run sets up the pass. Could Nebraska work backwards this year with Casey Thompson and those wide receivers?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I think if you start doing that, what you get is what you saw in the second half against Northwestern, where you don't have the threat of the quarterback run game anymore. I mean, unless Casey Thompson starts pulling those zone reads. You don't have the consistent running game yet with the running backs. So then you're just basically in obvious passing situations. And, I think this group can be more efficient through the air, but you got to figure something out with the run game, and they've got the running backs to do it. It's, I think, Scott Frost caught some flack this week about the creativity comment, but he wasn't wrong. I mean, it was just a lot of running right up the back of the offensive linemen, and you got to get that figured out. I mean, you have better athletes this year to attack the edge with, and I would hope that against a team like North Dakota and even against Georgia Southern next week that you see Trey Palmer on the outside, you see AJ Allen on the outside, you see Gabe Irvin and Ramir Johnson, period. Like the athletes are there. I think it's just a matter of how they're used. So I'm not at the point where I'm kind of out on the run game yet. I think it can develop, but you need to start to see it the next couple weeks. I mean, these are get right weeks. Brian's right. You can't just, ignore North Dakota, but you need to really impose your will on the ground this week. I mean, that's pretty much, 1A and 1B on the checklist for me.
Yeah, Bruntz's answer kind of leads us into the lightning round question, which just give me one name. You can explain it if you want, but just one name. Which player are you hoping to see more of on the offensive side of the ball this week against North Dakota? We'll start with BC.
AJ Allen. I mean, we saw 3 carries, and Brian Applewhite was on the radio last night talking about how really good he was also in pass pro. If people paid attention, picking up blitzes and stuff for a first-year guy. People will remember, of course, he was a handpicked recruit, basically, of Brian Applewhite. So there's a real relationship there that goes back. And it just seems like he's going to be one of the main pieces of the Nebraska running game for the next 2 or 3 years already. Like, that's already begun. And this is maybe the week where that starts to take off more in full, where you see, I'm not going to say like 15 carries, but you mean 9 or 10 carries or something like that. So he'd be a guy I would bring up. Obviously, you could bring up like 3 other running backs with that one, but that's mine. That was not a very lightning answer. I'm sorry.
Not at all. That was like a slow drizzle.
That was a lightning show. When you're driving and you're not really seeing the rain, but you just have those flashes.
Except those are enjoyable, and that was not. So
I don't know. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Grace, how about you? Who do you want to see more of this week?
One of those running backs, I'm sure BC was referring to, Ramir Johnson. I mean, we heard about him so much in the offseason that he was playing at wideout, that he was doing running back stuff, and I think Frost even said anything that he would like to see him more this week. And I think, the fan base would like to too.
Absolutely. Bruntz?
I'll take the other running back, Gabe Irvin. We're going to see him, we're told. Didn't see him last week, and I think there's room for a move up the depth chart for somebody, given Jockey Ant's struggles at times in the opener.
I'll go out of left field a little bit. I hope we see some more random Logan Smothers sub packages. I think that can be a thing Nebraska can work in as a wrinkle throughout the year. Certainly you want to iron some of that stuff out before you get more into Big Ten play, but maybe a few more Logan Smothers option runs or something like that. I mean, they ran one and went for 8 yards, and we'll see if we see a little bit more of him against North Dakota. All right, jumping over to the defensive side of the ball, and we will start with Michael Bruntz. What happened to the pass rush in Ireland? Where did it go? Why did we not see it? And was it a product of a very good offensive line for Northwestern, or just a bad day for the Huskers?
I think the pass rush got held up in customs on the way over there.
No.
I was surprised at Nebraska's unwillingness to force the issue. We talked about this on Tuesday. It just, you let Ryan Helinski stand back there and pick you apart. And Nebraska needs to play with some more aggressiveness. They need to stop the run better than they did to allow themselves to get after the passer on 3rd down. But, they do have better athletes on the edge than they've had in quite a while. And that needs to show itself a little bit. And I'm expecting these next 2 weeks that we start to see something from O'Shawn Mathis. We start to see something from Caleb Tanner. And if we don't, I think that's a huge concern when Nebraska starts facing teams like Oklahoma and even like Purdue. I mean, you got to at least make a quarterback feel uncomfortable, and this defense hasn't done that yet this season.
Grace, who are you looking for to potentially have a bounce back game from the defense on Saturday?
I mean, it's hard to say not the whole defense. The defense was supposed to be the identity of this team. And we were supposed to be like, oh, I don't know about this offense, but we know about the defense.
Yeah.
And I think coming out of that game, we're like, I don't know. Who are these Huskers? I mean, I think for morale reasons, you just want to see Garrett Nelson, have a breakout game. Hopefully that shouldn't be too hard against North Dakota, but I think just for morale on that side of the team, him being a captain now, you kind of need to see him do really well.
All right, BC, what changes do you think we see from the defense on Saturday? Anything you expect to look different to start off against North Dakota?
I think an interesting sidebar is sort of what happens at the inside linebacker spot, just because of some injuries. I mean, both Reimer and Henrich got dinged a little bit in that first game, and Henrich was playing with something on his hand. So that's something to at least monitor, going forward the next couple of weeks. Ernest Hausman, who we're all really excited about, and, I think he's going to have a great career, gets thrown into the fire there. And you're going to learn some lessons that way, and he did. But I think he's going to play a little bit more maybe. You need a guy like Ativa Malga-Clements probably to give you some more reps. And just how that sort of works. And even if Chris Kolarovic is mixed in a little bit more, at his old position, I don't know. So that's something I'd watch for. And also, it'd be nice. I don't know if they can do it or not, but if they could grab a lead and actually rotate some of these guys that are sort of second team guys into the game like this, I think that's good for morale too. Where guys are working all off season, and you've got some of these players like Omar Brown and stuff where you get them some reps. So that's a key part of this game.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, Nebraska would love to build a big enough lead that you can kind of flood the bench. They did it against Fordham. I would think that that's the hope for them if they can manage here against North Dakota. All right, oddly specific predictions time. To recap last week, Michael Bruns feels like he was close. He had Anthony Grant with like 111 yards or something.
I said 112, I think.
Okay.
But I nailed the boom 4 inside the 20 prediction. So the season's off to a good start. You can take those to the bank every week. Don't forget that.
Just incredible. If there was only a place where you could have weird prop bets that people could bet off of that you create every week. We'll have to look into that. Connor Happer, I think, had one of his predictions was that there would be a lot of Irish phrases used throughout the game. They definitely used luck of the Irish. I think there was another one in there as well. So that hit. I had Jockey Ant with 2 touchdowns and less than 30 yards. He nailed the less than 30 yards, never really got close. And he never really got that close to the end zone either on his red zone carries. So miss there for me. BC, I don't remember yours.
It was that the ball is going to Malga Clements was going to have a sack, no. And also the ball was going to get tipped at the line of scrimmage, and it was going to be one of those where everybody's kind of fighting for it, and a middle linebacker picks it off, I believe Nick Henrich, and that didn't happen. So
all right.
Yeah.
So Grace, that's kind of what you're looking at here. We'll give you a little bit of time. I'll start with mine right off the bat. Casey Thompson, who threw a touchdown pass to Isaiah Garcia Castaneda last week, ran in a touchdown as well. He is going to catch a touchdown against North Dakota. It will be thrown by Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer will throw the pass from like the 33-yard line, but it'll go as a 27-yard touchdown reception to Casey Thompson as Nebraska breaks out a little razzle-dazzle against North Dakota in the second quarter. That is where I'm going this week. It seems like a very long shot, but I will celebrate it greatly if it comes true. BC.
Okay, they're going to have a package where Logan comes in again and runs a little option, but it's going to be more than one play this time. He's going to have success running it once or twice, and then it's going to appear to be an option run again, but he's going to pull back old school like the Osborne era.
And he's going to find Matt Harrion down the middle of the field.
It's going to be Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, and it's going to be a 43-yard touchdown. He'll be like wide open and like waiting on the ball. It's going to be like one of those from like a PG-13 movie where the ball's way underthrown and the guy has to wait like this for it, and he'll back into the end zone. So that's what's going to happen.
Why is it a PG-13 movie?
I think.
Language, that's
I
why.
think. Yeah.
Is there drug paraphernalia and language?
I think I'm thinking of another teen movie. There's a stupid, which is not.
Oh, the guy gets ripped in half.
Yeah. He's like waiting like that.
Yeah, that movie was hard.
That was a very specific thought that was in my brain. I was having these
oddly specific.
Yeah.
This segment delivers every week. Grace, are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think mine would be so specific like y'all. I think you really had some time to think about this. Mine is going to be O'Shawn Mathis gets a sack in the first 5 minutes of the game, and Memorial Stadium just erupts.
All right. See, that was oddly specific. First 5 minutes of a game, a
I
Nebraska player getting a sack. That works. That's very good.
And possibly realistic too, actually. I'm like
all right, Brunts, you wear the crown. What are you bringing for your repeat?
I'll give you two. I think Nebraska has two 100-yard rushers on Saturday. I think one is going to be Anthony Grant. I think the other one is going to be Gabe Ervin. And we get a week of questions of where was Gabe Ervin in the opener? Wouldn't he have helped in the opener? So that's one. Again, going special teams. I'm going to continue riding the Brian Buschini train. I think he has a long punt of 67 yards on Saturday. I don't think he's going to punt much, but when he does punt, he's going to bring Memorial Stadium to its feet. So 67-yard punt, two 100-yard rushers.
Do you think there's going to be a lot of hat tips from the fans in the stadium, just like, taking their hat off and really letting Brian Buschini know that they're impressed by that punt?
Yeah, they'll do like the old school, like wave it like this kind of a thing. Yeah.
You knew exactly where I was going with that. I appreciate that. All right, pick to click. We will pick one player that we think will have a good game here on Saturday. I'm going to go with Trey Palmer, who I think led Nebraska in receptions over in Ireland. I think he will do that again this week against North Dakota, but he will add in a touchdown passing, as I mentioned earlier, as well as his first receiving touchdown with Nebraska, and he'll go over 100 yards. Brian?
I'll go Devin Drew. He played 24 snaps in the first game, which was maybe more than some thought. And I just think his role is going to keep expanding to where maybe he becomes, one of those main pieces next to Ty Robinson. And I think that happens over the next couple of weeks and maybe makes a play or two that helps cement that status for him.
Grace?
I'm going to go with Ramir Johnson, hoping that he gets in the game this time, but I think this would be the great kind of like homecoming, kind of, showcasing him for the first time this season in this kind of new position. So I'm going to go with Ramir Johnson.
All right. Brunts?
I'm going to go with Tommy Hill. I think we get a signature Tommy play or two, maybe a pick. I think I liked what I saw. He was one of the few guys on defense last week. I liked how that looked. So I think he's going to have a good game in his Memorial Stadium debut.
Look at you sneaking in a 2016 Danny Langsdorff reference there.
Yeah, and I would ride with Travis Vokalek, which I was correct on last week as well, but he's questionable. He's day-to-day, so I can't ride the tight ends anymore.
All right, it's that time. We're going to give score predictions. I'm assuming everyone's picking Nebraska, but who knows? Maybe we're going to get weird. Brian, what do you got?
I'll just say Nebraska 38, North Dakota 17. And that's sort of the fall between. It'll probably be either Nebraska really scuffles, and this is even tighter than that, or they blow them out by more, but I kind of met in the middle on it. So 38-17.
Okay. Grace?
I'm going to go 35-10 Nebraska, so kind of the same vibes as Brian. But, yeah, I mean, I think they're just going to try to get in the end zone as much as possible. Obviously, hit a field goal if they can, but, they need to see the end zone.
Brunts, are you staying in the 30s?
No, I'll go in the 40s. I think it's Nebraska 43, North Dakota 16. I think Nebraska has a pretty comfortable day. They're able to get some things done on offense. So I think it'll be a happy day at Memorial Stadium.
All right. I have Nebraska 38-13 over North Dakota. Comfortable, but, there's enough of a game where you get to see the starters for a while before the bench comes in and gets their first opportunity. Grace, we appreciate you joining us here for your debut podcast, and look forward to hearing about your experience in Memorial Stadium for an actual home game.
I'm looking forward to it.
Should be a good time. All right, everybody, be sure to check out everything we got going on at Husker247. We will have plenty of coverage of the game coming up. We'll have plenty of high school coverage as well, with recruits and commits playing on Thursday and Friday night. So be sure to check out Husker247, and we'll have more podcasts coming up after the game as well. We will catch you next week.